Hello, everybody. We are live. How's everybody doing? The evening of July 9th, going into July 10th, and prep for the day ahead. Another busy day on my front. Had a ton of trades. I will run through them, make a watch list for tomorrow, and go over a couple lessons, takeaways from today, and see what we can come away with. BMNR, if anyone follows Steven Ducks on Twitter, he had his first $10 million day. Absolutely insane. I saw the filing this morning, put out an S3 here off the open, and it started going up. It pulled back and then swiped right back. So I'm thinking a bunch of shorts came in and slammed that offering, that news. It was a S3 ASR, and I figured they slammed it, and then they're getting squeezed. And then right after that little high day clear out, it never looked back. And absolutely insane unwind, got cut in half. So congrats to shorts there. I did not touch it to the short side, although we did get a big panic into the looking left breakout level, so I reacted to some right there on the panic and higher low, and it just wasn't getting going, so I sold that one and moved on for a small winner. BTBT, this one's a painful. Plan was for the gap down. I had put some on there in pre-market, it swiped up, and I just moved on over prior looking left highs. BTCS, missed that whole thing too. There we go. Looking left here was looking for a clear out through these 520s, same kind of setup as VOR. We got that right through highs, hard crack, lower highs. Putting some on, and just covered it for really no reason. I was trading a bunch of other stuff. There was no real reason to cover it. I was sized appropriately versus highs, and I just covered it for no reason and missed a buck of fade. So that one, those are the mistakes from today. PROK, avoided this whole move off the open. Big day one move, gap up, failed follow through. Currently have a position overnight on this afternoon rollover. But we've got that same kind of setup where we get the gap up, close below the open. Usually entails a gap down in red day on the following day, so we will see. SRFM took a loss and then ended up making it back and then some. Right here, push. Let's look at the daily here first. 1, 2, 3 days, big gap up into the day 3 resistance. We get a big push. Hard crack, lower highs, short versus high a day, stop out, and then it fails, back under VWAP, puts some back on, it reclaims, doesn't really reclaim any key levels, so this was just more of an emotional cover, I think, after taking a couple losses this morning, didn't want to give more back, and it immediately failed, so I reshorted again, added to that winner, set a stop, and was just going to let it work, and we finally got that unwind. So this one here could warrant as well an overnight short, but I've got a ton of stuff that I'm still in, and I just didn't want to be torn. It's I think this one will have opportunity into 7 tomorrow, and I think this should hit sub 6, like a retest of this breakout level. Will be the goal there for me. Might as well draw a line here on the 57 there. So I'll be using 7 as a guide and look for a fade sub 6 tomorrow. Now that it's gapped up and closed below its resistance, should offer some decent opportunities. TSSI, again, had so much I was trading this morning, ended up missing this one. I think the optimal entry was this low a day crack right here. Short that, whether you want to risk high a day, risk red to green, something like that. But I think that was the optimal entry right there. 26 was that key daily breakdown. and I was gone off desk once it started to retest here. But right over here is a decent entry spot as well. Once it tests, can really scale into that and risk right off the support level has now become resistance. By the time I get back to desk, taking lunch break and stuff, I'm a bit late, but I think the trend is still in my favor so far, gapping down. And if the setup's going to work, it should gap down and follow through tomorrow. So currently have that one on as well. Ideally, get a pull back into this little wick level, maybe sub 24s tomorrow. We will see. VIOT added to that winner and took it off fairly shortly after. Was short this one here, right here in the 270s. Popped up and then went red, shorted again, and it flushed out, but just held trend, so minimize that one. Workhorse was biggie today. Workhorse and Wolf, again, the two main trades. So I had stopped out of that overnight idea. I had mentioned if it was holding green by the open, I was going to cover that one and move on. I forced that trade. It was not gap up, close below the open, looking for it to foreshadow a first red day. So I was definitely predicting rather than reacting, where right now I have an overnight position on this one. And I'm much more comfortable in something like this right now. But yeah, I covered it, stopped out there before the market opened, and was rewarded with a nice gap up. We got the hard crack, lower highs, shorting versus high a day. And I'm just looking for some failed follow through, and every time it flushes sub VWAP, it just wicks right back up. So I covered it, was sized appropriately versus highs, but just covered it. It just wasn't acting how I wanted. Once it broke this higher low trend, it should have failed and just came right back. Now we got this last exhaustion. Now I'm short and using these 370s highs as a guide. And we get this nice flush here for about 70, 80 cents. Covered it all. Looked like it was going to stay heavy here under lows. Hit it and then covered it on that swipe candle. Got this pop back up. Goal was in IU. I posted that plan for pops versus 320s, 330s. And we got that one there right around 11. So I put some on. Was still keeping really wide risk. Didn't know how high this was going to bounce. And then again, once I get back to on my phone, then I can take some mobile trades and can add to that winner. Move risk down to these 330 highs. Added right once more into close and then looking for a gap down. I think 250 is the conservative goal, and if it loses 250, this thing could unwind back sub 2. So we will see, but nice trade there nonetheless. And then Wolf, I had mentioned yesterday I just couldn't get any swing shares on it. So plan was to put some on this morning. And exactly what should have happened. It failed, went red, and was holding red. So I put some on with risk versus 280s. And then once the open failed, I started to add here off the open and moved risk to red to green. If it went green, it was no longer a red day. So I covered along the way and then reacted to this panic and got long. Sold for a quick scalp and then took the rest off for a small gain there. And I think that was it. So Wolf and Workhorse were the main two. And the other ones were all kind of give or take flat. Some wins, some losses, but none of them were full wins or full losses. None of them were even an R. So what's going on, Jeff? Good to see you. So yeah, currently still have Tizzy overnight, Workhorse overnight. Can't even see that candle. But gap up, close below the open. This one here is a support breakdown. Failed follow through on the daily. And then I also have Proc, gap up, close below the open. So we will see. A few overnight positions. We'll get up in pre, set some stops, and try to let them work. Ideally, they gap down and no real reason to cover as long as they stay red. So we will see. Vor, this one is setting up the exact same way it did right over here. We had those multi-day breakout, Day 2 of the breakout fails. Day 2 of the breakout fails. 1 day of indecision. And the setup I would play is that 240 failed fall through, and then it could set up for another breakout there through $2. So just a matter of which way it's going to break out of this trend, but it's doing the exact same thing it did right over here, right through right here. Broke out, 1 day, pop and pull back, and then this is the decision day. So it's like you can literally see the intraday action. This looks the same as this, and this looks the same as this. So whether it fails 240 or breaks over 3, just waiting and let it pick a direction. BMNR, steady lows again today. Fairly illiquid, but same kind of idea where you could short the open and collect a couple points. Wolf, now that this has had a day and a half of red days, we have had, whether you want to count it from the breakout or count it from like the 5-day low, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right here at 60 cents. We're hitting that 300% move, which is that threshold for those backside bounces. Volume is plenty, trading 100 million shares today, and we are pulling back into prior support. Ideally, I would like it to extend itself away from these twos. Picture perfect would be like 150 to 130. So if we were to get a big enough gap down into like 150, I would react to that as a first green day, but I need to see an exhaustion gap and flush and then get that mean revert. But the next play on this for me to watch for is that backside bounce. So we will see. Keeping on watch, the lower the better, and look for a bounce. Workhorse, I think this could go back down towards $2. We've got this prior support here at 250. I briefly touched on it. But gap up, close below the open. Traded a bunch of volume up here. And if this thing goes red tomorrow, so it hasn't gone red in like 4 or 5 days. So if this thing gaps down, goes red tomorrow, I think it's game on. And once it's sub 250, I think this is for whatever size you're comfortable with kind of trade. If you look at the daily, I mean, I don't know what else you need. Hasn't been this clean in a while, or it just goes gap to gap to gap. Once it gaps up, close below its open, nice follow through day. So should be good. I think there's enough people bagged overhead. You can see this volume profile here at $3. So I would want to see it below 3. Proc, exact same setup. Big volume day, gap up, close below the open. Bunch of bag holders instead of $3. This one's $5. Would want to see this one below 5. SRFM contemplated an overnight trade, but didn't. I think I'll still have some opportunity to short this one tomorrow. Use 7 as a guide and look for a sub 6 washout. Tizzy, not sure I really short much more of this. Just kind of gonna try and let it work as long as it stays below 26. Hood, waiting for this one to pick a direction. It's got fairly nice move here and now starting to flag. If you look at like an intradaily, you could probably draw it like there. So you've got 90 as a base, 100 as the big psychological breakout level, and these lower highs, if it starts to build above 96, probably gets moving. But I think an early entry is somewhere in this consolidation, risking 90 if you're super bullish. But definitely worth watch for whichever way it's going to break out of this channel. CLDI was a gapper today. It had some news put out in IU that they were had their reverse split vote, which is typically not the best reaction. But any short who was shorting for that reason got absolutely blown out here on the front side. even right here, you get this parabolic big stuff candle, high day clear out, and then failed follow through here under 110s. And this is that little crack and support reclaim that someone had mentioned on here. So if you were taking that trade, you got a nice pop out of it. And then they priced some warrants at 70 cents, and this thing got smoked. Pretty funny. Game, excuse me, fresh one here tomorrow for a first red day watch, up from $1 up to $3. If you look at the daily here, you can see the volume profile there in the mid twos or low twos. If this gives up $2, I think this could unwind rather nicely. But nice multi-day move nonetheless. Look for pops into these low twos, looking left levels. Once 2 confirms, should unwind back to the 4 EMA that's sitting right in these mid to low ones. And do you like Kerr for a breakout? Someone asked about that yesterday. I don't think I do. I don't remember. Someone had asked about this. Yeah, it's a liquidity trap. It's run in the past. Overhead resistance is far enough away that it's not super meaningful. Had a nice big one-day move. Pulled back, consolidating. It looks good. I mean, it looks like a liquidity trap. If this starts to break and build over 210, I think this thing's game on. Like it looks good. I'm not sure it's really going to be a huge needle mover. I'd throw it on watch list. Like it's not a bad look, but it's not something I'm going to be able to buy 10, 20,000 shares of and, get $1 or something. It's just, it's not really a huge, it's not really a needle mover, but maybe small size, play that little break and look to sell pops. Took a risky trade on egg. Looks scary. Be careful. Why do some of those small size wide risk starters... Oh yeah, sorry about that, George. I saw the comment on that video yesterday. I just didn't get around to it, but I'm glad that you mentioned it here. I can talk about it on the video instead of typing out the whole answer. But the first reason that I put on those small size starters is if it goes in my favor and never gets above that starter, I am able to add to that winner with my average already being above the current price. So something like Wolf, I think I did yesterday. So I'm short here at 350, let's call it. And then by open, I'm short at 320. So I'm already 30 cents in the money. Yes, I'm willing to let it go $1 against me. So say you're comfortable risking $1,000. You short at 350 and you're going to risk 450. So you short 1,000 shares at 350. Now this is at 320. I've got 1,000 shares. I'm already $300 in the money. And if you want to, what I did was risk to 330. If I put on another 1,000 shares at 320, which was what my average was like 315, risking 330. So if I put on another 1,000 shares, my average is now from 350, call it 320, 30 cents, add 15 cents. My average is now 335 and my risk is 330. So I've now doubled my share size and my risk is now break even. So if I want to get to a full size $1,000 risk off of high a day, I can now add off of 320. So going back to 1,000 shares at 350, 1,000 at 320 is break even risk. And then risking another 30 cents on 3,000 shares. So I could get it with a 320 entry risking 330. I could get 5,000 shares because of this starter. Whereas if I did not take this starter and now it's at 320, risking 310, risking 320, 20 cents. Sorry, I just got a news alert. Risking 20 cents on that one is, what is that? Excuse me. So now you're putting on dollar risk without any unrealized, if that makes sense. So by shorting here, you're now adding to a winner. It makes it easier to enter because now your average is already higher than where you're entering. It allows you to add faster while still keeping dollar risk in check, because now you have an unrealized gain and you can still add to get a new dollar risk and use kind of house's money to let that trade work. That's the first reason. The second reason, which is kind of like secondary, is a starter to put it into the positions box, where, in my opinion, if the position is in your positions box and you have some skin in the game, I think you're going to pay a bit more closer attention to that trade that's on than if you just had it on a watch list. Then you're not, like, you're watching it, but you don't have any skin in the game. You're not chomping at the bit, like nervous or aggressive or anything like that. You don't have any emotion in it. Where once you have it, now I'm like, oh, now I'm up. Now the trade is working. I want to scale this. I want to make the trade work. Like it's like it's you feel it. So basically hedging yourself. Yeah. That makes so much sense. I was always thinking, why don't just take one trade like a sniper, basically hedging yourself. Yeah, I know Grittani has done that, but like typically, every time I'm adding to the position, I'm moving risk to a new level and keeping dollar risk the same, but adding to that winner because now I have a new risk. So like if I'm short here and risking an arbitrary dollar a share, that's that risk. Now it's starting to fail. Once I added here, I moved risk down to 350, which is now a break-even stop once I added here, maybe a super small loss. And then once we got these high-a-day stuffs, now I'm shorting through opening range lows, and now I'm adding to that with risk on high-a-day. So here I'm risking $1, here I'm risking break-even, here I'm risking 20 cents, and you could argue maybe adding through low a day and getting more than a 1R risk off of highs, but every time I'm adding, I'm moving that risk level down. So I'm not super concerned about the price in which I'm adding. I'm more concerned about what my dollar risk is to risk off of the important level. Thanks, yeah, hopefully it made sense. On that note of starters, will the starter be your full 1R or less than? Depends. In Wolf's case, it would have been a full loss if it went $1 a share against me. What was one, like Workhorse? I think I took a few. So like here, like you can see multiple entries. So this would have been considered a starter. It would have been like maybe a 1/3 size off of highs. And then it failed. So I was like, okay, some confirmation, now about a half size. And now we get a confirmed lower high and VWAP fail. I'm thinking this trade should work fairly soon. So now on this candle, I'm a full size risk off a high a day. Covered it. Was about a flat trade. Made some on this one, lost some on that one. And then here, I shorted some into this higher low trend line. It looked like it was going to fail, but didn't. And then right here, now I added. So here I was risking versus high a day full size. This candle I'm risking versus 370 full size. So now instead of short here at 340, risking 380, risking 40 cents. Now I can add here and risk 30 cents. So I just made 10 cents a share by adding to this position and moving risk to a new level. So now you get more size as the trade is working by moving risk to a new level. So it's not like black or white if the starter is full size or less. It depends. Each trade, if you ask about like specific trades, I'll tell you, but it's always different. How far to risk on that starter? Yeah, those were just arbitrary. I shorted at 350 just because it was the like on Wolf again for an example, just because it was parabolic in nature. I shorted it. It could have gone 380. It could have gone 420, and I would have looked to position into that. So I just didn't know how much higher it was going to go. But the opportunity based on the daily, I didn't think this could go too much farther. I mean, we're going 1, 2, 3, 4 days, and it's just gap to gap to gap to gap. I mean, it should fail eventually. So it was just an arbitrary, I'll risk a buck, take a stop, and I'm willing to try up to 3R on a given trade on something like this. So I'd take 3 full-size stops before admitting that I'm wrong. So if I shorted 350 and it just went straight up into 450, I'd have to cut it. But I would be looking to get right back in as soon as that parabolic looked to top out. So the dollar was just based on like its range. Like it just ran from 260 to 360 straight up. Can it really go another dollar? Probably not. So I'll risk another dollar, and then if it starts to fail, I can add to that. If it doesn't fail, I've only got a starter. That was the thesis on that. MLGO should be a gapper. Let me look. Yeah, that's just so beaten down. If this were to run for multiple days like this, I'd look to short it again. I'll throw that on a watch list in case it runs for multiple days. This thing's a POS. I will not long this name. It's trash. What's my thinking on proc? I currently have a position short overnight. We have an overextension, ran from 50 cents up to $7, and gap up, close below its open. Everybody's bagged from up here. Would like to see it stay below 5, ideally. If it gets above 5, we'll cut it and look to reattack, but I think it should gap down and fade tomorrow. Those are my thoughts on that one. So main watches will be my current overnight positions. Will be Workhorse, Proc, and Tizzy, just because I have positions on those going into tomorrow, so they have to be my main watches. Wolf, if it gaps down big enough, I'd look for a backside reversal. Ideally, it gets into like A-grade territory and fades for another day tomorrow, and then Friday would be like A+. If this were to steady lows tomorrow, down to like 140 or something, then I'd really like that one. But I'm open to trading it. If it gaps down enough, opening range breakout, and if it were to rally back into the 2s. SRFM, gap up, close below its open. I think there's opportunity using 7 as a guide. And then Game was a fresh runner here today. Nice multi-day move. And look for 2 fails for it to roll over. So P, percent gainer. Kerr was brought up on this thing. I think if it breaks and builds 2 10s, I think could get going, but would just be a small size trade for me, nothing huge. Go long got rolled over today. Tough luck, new day tomorrow. Sorry to hear that. It happens. I'm sorry to hear. My favorite long is backside bounce. I like backside bounces more than multi-day breakouts. Something like Wolf goes on a big frontside move, pulls back for multiple days, and then play that little mean revert on the backside. Love those. George was swinging game and dumped it last week. Yeah. I was looking at it because we had this little volume day as like a little breakout. But I was like, this thing never moves. I'm not going to play this thing. And then, whoa. But that's the nice part about being a day trader, going long and short, is if you miss the long, you can go short. If you miss the short, you can go long for a bounce. If you miss the bounce, you can short back into resistance. If you miss that short into resistance, you can wait for a consolidation breakdown and failed follow through. If it starts to consolidate and re-breaks out, you can miss that front leg and you can play the secondary breakout. Having multiple setups in your arsenal with these multi-day runners. Multi-day runners are my bread and butter. I love them. I've been trading fairly well this week just because we've had so many of them. So that's my watch list anyway, guys. I think I will wrap it up there. I appreciate you guys stopping by and being very interactive again today. I like the little group we've got here. A few of the same people keep showing up, but it is much appreciated. Jeff always being number one in these streams. Attaboy. Alrighty, guys. Trade them well tomorrow. Come in prepared. Have that next mentality, whether you did good today, poor today, tomorrow's another day. So trade them well. I will see some of you in the room, some of you on the next watch list. Take it easy, guys. Peace.